Okay. Thanks everyone for joining tonight. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:01. I think we'll get through today's agenda pretty quickly. So let's see. Can we show the minutes, Stanford, and we'll see if there's any comments. Okay, thanks, Stanford. Does anyone have any questions or comments to the minutes from January? If not, we can go ahead and approve that and we can move on in the agenda. Thanks, Ali, for the good notes as always. No comments? Okay. Okay, so those are approved. Moving on to principal's report.
Good evening, everybody. Can you believe it's February already? Holy smokes. It's like, kind of just came by real fast. Okay, so anyway, we'll start with what everybody wants to hear is about COVID. We're all, chomping at the bit to get the latest information. We're not tired of this at all. It does seem like the cases are kind of slowing down, whereas so it kind of went first week of school, we didn't have anything. It was like, oh, okay, what's going on? And then we got cracks. The next few weeks after that, like every single day, we were getting reports. And then last week, it started slowing down. And then this week, knock on wood, it's kind of just been like a couple, just kind of trickling in. So hopefully that is the trend as we go forward. We did halt the testing that we were doing. There's so many issues with that testing. And I'll be very transparent with it. One was the fact that it had to go all the way to California to be, sent to the diagnostic lab. That just was like such a pain in the Okole. And the first time we did it, we didn't get results because I figured UPS like flies stuff out all the time, but apparently they don't do it on the weekend. So our stuff sat and then it spoiled because it's got to be at the lab in a certain amount of time. So that's when we pushed it up. And then to be honest with you, we had a few positives, but the positives never had any symptoms. And so I was like researching all day about like, what kind of test is this and all that. Talked to the Hawaii keiki nurse, talked to a bunch of different people. And I asked the parents to go do a PCR test because the color testing wasn't a PCR test, it was an antigen test. No, maybe not. Anyway, it wasn't a PCR test. So they went and took the PCR test. They're all negative. So I think they were false positives. That's why I was kind of like, I need to figure out what's going on with this thing a little bit more before I kind of move forward with all the effort. So that's kind of the reason why we stopped the testing. It's just to be sure, because The parents who got the positive results was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And then they were scrambling like that morning to try and like figure stuff out. And it was kind of like this fire drill of things, and super stressful on both sides for us and for them. And so I think it's just better off if people, there's so many opportunities for you to get tests locally, and the results come back like super fast, that's probably the better way to do it at this point. Because I've gone to the Waikiki Shell. When did I go? Like a couple of Sundays ago. I was the only person in there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I got my results by 3 o'clock that afternoon. So to me, you cannot beat that, and that's a PCR test. And I didn't have any, I just regularly take tests just because of I'm around all these kids and everybody else, right? So I just kind of make it a regular practice for myself to go and get tested. And that was so much easier than doing the one that we were doing at school. So not to say, never say never, but there is kind of maybe like a sliver of hope, because the DOE is partnering with the Hawaii Keiki nurses, and hopefully soon we'll have somebody who will be assigned to our campus that can actually do the testing. So they have qualifications. So they're above the school health aide kind of qualifications wise. So they're able to do testing. So when that person comes aboard, we can kind of see what they can offer. And they're supposed to be able to help us with all of this, all the stuff that I'm doing and the office is doing in terms of keeping track of all the contact tracing and everything else. So a little bit late, but hey, we'll take whatever help that we can get at any time. So that person, we won't have to pay for them either. They are free from the state. I think it's probably federal funds that's paying for these guys, and they'll just be in our office and helping us out with anything COVID related. So that's good. Speaking of school health aides, we do have one, a temporary substitute, I should say, school health aide. She comes in only Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, but hey, like I said, I'll take whatever I can get. Because otherwise it's the office that's kind of doing all of that work. So we're kind of getting slowly staffed up to be able to handle a lot more. And then we also have another office assistant. Her name is Carly. She just started with us as kind of like a temporary hire, but she's doing a really great job along with Nicole. And then Kim is the Sasa. So again, like I said, we're kind of getting really staffed up, and it's a good time as we go through some of the other things that I'm going to talk about later in my report about registration, kindergarten registration, and everything else. We do still have all the same restrictions in place, regardless that the numbers seem to kind of, be trickling back down. We follow all the DOE and Department of Health guidance. And so I know I've gotten a few inquiries about like if we're going to change doing things or whatnot. And my answer to that is when the guidance changes, then we change. But until then, I got to just follow whatever they're putting out. And believe me, like I would love to have all the kids just running around without any restrictions at recess and being kids again. That's the best. But as of this point, safety still is a priority, and that's the way that we're going. We are sort of bringing back a limited schedule of events, so not sure if this has gone out yet, and then maybe we can talk about this later, Danny or whoever is with Jogathon. So the Jogathon is supposed to be February 22nd through 25th. It's not like the Jogathon that we had before. It's really kind of segmented. So each grade level is going to just do their own mini Jogathon, and they're all going to be separated by classes and stuff. But there is still a fundraising component to that ties to the PTA. So that's the part where Danny, maybe we can talk about that later on. And sorry, but there will be no parents allowed on campus to observe that. It is also our Spirit Week. So it's a combination Jogathon and Spirit Week. So it should be kind of a really good festive week. I know this will be shared later on the agenda, but also we're kind of ramping up for after school classes. I know Miss I got about 5 or 6 teachers willing to kind of do some stuff, and hopefully we can start to push that out pretty soon. And then I'm not sure if everybody saw, but if you didn't, I sent out an email because we're trying to do preparations for gifted and talented for next school year, really. But the forms are available on our website. And Miss Noelani Chang is our GT coordinator. She'll be doing assessments and whatnot. So applications for if you want your child to be considered for gifted and talented, I think are due on March the 4th. You got to get it in. But if you have any questions, you can always contact Miss Noelani Chang. And then we did start talking about graduation. So we're going to have graduation for the kids. Whether or not we can have parents, I'd like to, but we can kind of see where things kind of lay out. But the kind of the sketched out plan is we're going to do it in the Idea Center again. So we'll move everything in the library side. We made modular, so it's all on wheels and whatnot. So we can just wheel everything out, and then we can have a place to set up. And then that way we don't have to interrupt the setup for lunch and have to keep resetting the tables because they all have to be certain distances and whatnot right now. So if you have any 5th grade parents on here right now, rest assured, we will have a graduation. And at the very worst, it'll be live streamed again, like we did last year. Okay. Any questions on COVID or anything that I've touched on so far? Okay, the next part is really just a sharing from our school community council meetings. So right now we're in the midst of creating our new, or updating, I should say, our academic plan, because it's a 2-year plan. So I'll just give you some of the highlights. So these are the identified areas of need that we're focusing on right now. So one are our English language learners. So we're still trying to figure out why this is the case, but we jumped from 26 active EL students to 47 this year. So that's a pretty significant jump. So we were really trying to focus on those students. So you'll see in a moment. So the next thing is really what we call the gap rate. So the gap rate is the difference between proficiency scores of the high needs kids. So high needs, you would be English learner, special education, or if you qualify for free reduced lunch. Okay, so those are the 3 general categories as a high needs student. So anybody else is considered a non-high needs student. So for math, so this is comparing the before COVID. So the year COVID hit, we had no testing. Okay, and then last year we had testing, but it was in the midst of changing learning environments, right? From going from distance learning to doing the kind of the hybrid. And so we didn't necessarily get to teach everything that we would in a normal year, just because and then all the different stresses of changing and whatnot. So just keep that into account as I read this. So the first number I'm going to read is the proficiency rate. And this is only for the tested grades, so 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Okay, so this is before COVID and then last year during COVID, right? So for math before COVID, our non-high need students were 85% proficiency. Last year, it was 85% proficiency. So there was no drop off. So COVID really, in terms of data, there's no really real effect on our non-high needs kids. Okay, so that's good. Our high needs kids for math, before COVID, they were 63% proficient. It went down to 55. Right, so there's a trend. So for language arts, for non-high needs, it was 91, which is phenomenal. and it went to 89, which is negligible. It's essentially the same thing. High needs went from 71 to 54. So really our goal is to focus on our high need students, which again are our EL students. So now we have more EL students, right? Almost double. Our special education students and our students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. So that's our focus. So when you look at our overall scores, they look pretty good. But that's because our non-high need students kind of pull the average up. So the real story is, what are we doing for our high needs kids? And that's where we've been focusing on for this year, last year, this year, and as we go forward, every year actually is. So our goal as a school, our gap rate, like I said, is the difference. So the gap rate for math went from 22 points to 30, and then language arts went from 20 points to 35. Now, even the 22 and the 20 is not good. Our goal as a school is to be in the single digits. And so that's kind of a tall task, but I told our teachers, if like our proficiency rate, we can, hang our hat and say, great. But I think the real story is if we do a great job, that means we're addressing all students, is if we can lower that gap rate into the single digits. So that's kind of what we're doing. Two other points that we are focused on generally for our academic plan is the social emotional learning to address all of the different issues that have come up through COVID. And this is not only just for the students, but for the staff as well. And then science. So science is kind of interesting. Only the 5th graders get tested for science. So really, when we look at the scores, it's a reflection of how well we've prepared the kids from kindergarten, right? So it's a one-shot kind of deal. And then recently, within the last couple of years, they changed the standards to this next generation science standards, NGSS. So our teachers are still kind of getting used to it, and then COVID hit, and it was kind of crazy. And then they changed the test in the middle of COVID too. They added engineering practices as another strand into the things that they test the kids on. So we dropped in terms of scores. So our non-high needs kids, where they were 90% proficient in science, now it was 80 last year, and then 75 and 56 for high needs kids. So we're trying to do a little bit better job on our science, but we are not unique in terms of scores dropping due to COVID. So that has been our focus, and we have a number of different things going to help all those kids in those areas. So that's kind of the focus of our academic plan. Any questions on any of that? Cool. All right, lastly, just some reminders. So if you are traveling out of state, make sure you let the teacher know and main office. If you have already submitted if your child is vaccinated, if you just submit it to the office, then it should be way less issues when you return. President's Day is the 21st. It's a Monday. That's a holiday. There is no school. Spring break is coming up March 14th to the 18th. That's why I was kind of mentioning the travel stuff. We are looking to register kindergartners at this time. So if you guys know people out there, or you yourself have a kindergartner that you need to register, if you're in district, this is only for in district. Yeah. We need to know, so that helps us to determine how many GEs that we take. Because the largest amount of GE requests that I typically get is for kindergarten. And then last thing is about geographic exceptions. So if you're already on a geographic exception, you don't have to do anything. So you don't have to re-register. Once you're at a school on a GE, you are with that school for elementary purposes, until you go to middle school. Or unless you leave. So if you left, you exited school and you went someplace else, and then you tried to come back, you would have to apply for another GE. Right, and so right now, like, we got wait lists for GEs because people still, you can actually try to apply for a GE at any time, but typically there are wait lists. And like now with COVID, we're not really taking like GE, anybody from the wait list right now, because we want to maximize the amount of space and things like that. But for our purposes, if you have enough spots for the number of GEs, then you do your selection or your notification on March the 1st. If you're like us, then we have too many people for the number of slots, then you do a lottery, and the lottery is held on the first Friday in April. So this year it's on April 1st, which is the first Friday in April, and that's when we would send notifications out on GEs right after. Okay. Any questions?
Well, Principal Goswin, there was a question regarding the GEs, or how about siblings on a GE?
Siblings on G. So if there's a sibling here and a sibling that's, say, not in district and trying to register here, they have to fill out a GE. They don't automatically come. But there is there's reasons on there that you can select, and one of the reasons is sibling at same school. How about we move out of the area? Do we need to apply G? Okay, that's a good question. So if you're a current student, and I mean, real estate is crazy, right? You can spend $1.5 million in Manoa and still get a shack. I mean, that's not even like an exaggeration, right? So a lot of people are renting possibly in the area, and then rents go up, and then they got to move out of district. So my philosophy generally, I'll just say this generally, it's not a guarantee, but generally, you know, if there are no attendance issues, so like if you, you know, the child is well adjusted and everything else, has all the friends here, is doing well, socially, emotionally, academically, all that kind of stuff. And if you can, you know, commit, if you got to move farther away, then you just basically submit a GE like as soon as you move, and then I'll consider it. And I'm of the opinion that I would, if you're happy here and, you know, and you can make it, then we'll continue. But that's the likely outcome. That's not the guaranteed outcome. If you can, I cannot guarantee anything. So I'll just say it's highly likely that you will just continue. Yeah. So people can contact me. So I've had that situation a few times, just because people, like, you know, they're saving up, and then the only place they can afford, say, like, is a little bit further out, IAEA, or, you know, like a condo, instead of renting a house. Not a problem. Just let me know. Okay. Like I said, if you live in the district and you cannot make it to school on time, then maybe that's something that we got to talk about. So how you gonna make it to school if you can live farther? Is basically what I'll be doing. You can so the question is, do you contact me to discuss the situation? You can contact me and we can review it. But no matter what, you're gonna have to fill out the GE form. So you might as well fill out the GE form and you can submit it. And then I can talk with you guys about your situation. Okay. Makes me feel good when people want to be here. That's why. Like we're doing a good job or something. Okay, anything else? Cool, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Principal. Appreciate that. A lot of good info. Let's move on to Treasurer's report, Chris.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so total income received was $250. Total expense $14,054.29. The checking account balance as of January 31st was $66,521 on the bank statement, but that current balance is actually $49,968.8. Savings is 161,757.49, and the free business checking is 12,856.08. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And then just so that everybody knows, we did pay out for the Jogathon shirts, and we did finally, we were able to cut the checks for the teacher and staff appreciation. Usually we give it in the beginning of the year, but we were still kind of scrambling at the beginning, so we weren't able to do that until just this past week. So that was the reason for the spend out this month. Any questions on the treasurer's report? No. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to old business, just a few things. Thank you to everyone who participated in the Kokul for Keiki program sponsored by Alexander and Baldwin. This was the one where they were collecting receipts for anything spent at Manoa Marketplace. So I thought we were gonna come in first. I got a little competitive at the end. I'm like, oh yeah, everyone, okay, let's turn in receipts. We actually came in second to Manoa School, but at that point it didn't matter, because if you hit 100 receipts, Alexander and Baldwin gives you the 1,000 for participating and just submitting one receipt, and then you get an extra $500 for hitting 100 receipts. So in the end, we were able to submit as a community 234 receipts, and they will be giving us a check very soon. So congratulations and thank you to everyone. That was very easy money. Easy fundraising. So thank you for that. Moving on to Jogathon. Principal was able to give some updates. Stanford, you have another anything to add?
Oh yeah, so as Principal Gusman had mentioned, the Jogathon is going to be during the week of February 22nd to 25th. We had to push it back another week because we weren't sure if the t-shirts were going to arrive from the mainland in time. But it actually got delivered to the office today, so we're going to be ready to have those distributed. Miss I is going to try to organize it herself, and if needed, I'll assist her. But during the actual event itself, which is going to run throughout the week, as Mr. Gusman had mentioned, all COVID health, safety, and protective measures are going to be in place. It is going to be by grade level, and the classes are going to be separated. So if your child participates, it's going to be on your child's PE day. So if your child participates on PE on a Tuesday, then they're going to have the Jogathon day on a Tuesday. And it's going to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday of that week. So your teachers or your children's teachers are going to be receiving a shirt, as mentioned earlier. And I got a quick picture of it. So I'll share that. So that's the shirt that they're going to get. It is black with green. And the children are going to get it from their teachers, and they're just going to wear it during the actual event. You don't have to like take it home or wash it or anything. You can, and your children are going to get to keep it after. So this is independent of any fundraising. Your child, we're asking if children can raise about $75 to meet our goal. But if you cannot, it doesn't matter. Each and every child is going to receive the shirt regardless. So, okay. Let's see. Donations are going to be due on the Friday of that Jogathon week. And we're only asking for cash or checks this time. We tried online in previous years, but we didn't get a whole lot. And it actually got hard to determine who to associate the donations with. So to sort of simplify it, as well as we had to pay a fee. To simplify things, we're just asking for cash or check donations. But yeah, that's about it for the Jogathon updates. You're going to get a flyer that's going to have more information as to the Jogathon itself, as well as the collection envelope that's going to have the fields for you to fill in, or for you and your child to fill in. So parents that have done it before, it's going to look very similar. New parents, basically, you're just going to put donor name, amount, and if it's a check, the check number. And get a total. When we'll get forms get sent home. We're working on the forms, right? It should probably go out this week. I'm guessing. We're just trying to make sure that the wording is appropriate everywhere and that we're getting the right information out. As Principal Gusman mentioned, no parent participation this year for obvious reasons. Hopefully one day we can have it going, where parents do participate, but the kids are going to have fun. I heard that Mr. Sakamoto did a really awesome job last year, and Miss Lum, who's back, has taken a lot of those ideas and incorporated it. So there's going to be 4 stations for the children to participate in. There's going to be a warm-up station that's going to be led by the officers. I'm not sure if they're doing it every day or they're going to record it and then just show a recording of them doing the warm-ups. There's going to be a jump rope area, which they're going to have short jump ropes, long jump ropes, Chinese jump ropes, and they're going to have a hula hoop area, and they're going to have a normal jogging path area. So the children are going to have 4 activities that they're going to participate in. And so that's how they're going to kind of separate the classes. And things are going to be sanitized, between grade levels. Any other questions in regards to Jogathon?
Not a question, Stanford, but maybe we should try to get some artwork together and use those banners, that we made for like a Jogathon reminders to put some we can put the old graphics up there, right, on one side, big, and then put the dates and, whatever, and try to get people more excited about it. But we should start trying to use those banners.
Sounds good.
We can work with Kristen on the printed poster size that gets laminated, and then we were going to put just Velcro on the back, right? So it's an interchangeable sign, but let's kind of see what we can do about that.
I'll go contact her. She said she was probably not going to be able to make tonight's meeting.
Okay.
Unfortunately, but yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, I think this, like Stanford was mentioning, part of the fundraising is to help support the PE program, because we have a really good one, a really strong program, and not every school is as lucky as we are. And, the families do a lot to help support it. So thank you in advance to everybody for participating where you are able. Okay, let's move on to next item. I'm going to bring this up at every month's meeting because I actually don't have so many left. I'm just realizing we definitely need some people to kind of step up and either nominate themselves or nominate a friend to be, on the board or run a committee for the PTA. I know that the last 2 years have been really, really hard. We haven't been able to meet each other. We haven't been able to have families see all the great things that the PTA does. And it feels like we're only on the fundraising end at this moment. But, as we come out of COVID, having a really good team to carry this forward is super important. So that's going to be a lot of emphasis, the last few months of this year, because a bunch of us are graduating out now. And as much as I would love to stay too, it's time for the next group to kind of take over. So I know there's a lot of hesitation about amount of time spent and all these things. I think what I would say to that is it doesn't have to take up that much time, I think, but if we all care about the school and what we do for each other and our families. So really think about it. I'll probably start calling on certain people like Stanford to take over certain positions just because you have the information, you have the knowledge, what goes on in a regular school year, and we need that kind of leadership when we're able to get back to those events and activities. So think about it. Email any of us at any time. Greatly appreciate your consideration. Okay, so let's move on to after school enrichment programs, and I'll turn it back over to Stanford.
Thanks, Danny. Yes. So I did meet with Miss I, and she got in contact with at least 5 teachers that are committed to teaching something in the after school. There's going to be, and it's going to be by grade level, again, just to separate or keep the kids, sort of in bubbles. So there's going to be art being offered at the kindergarten level, as well as the third grade level. There's going to be drama offered at the kindergarten level. There's going to be soccer offered, and this I'm not really sure, but it's going to be either the first grade or fourth grade level. I asked Miss I to talk to the teacher if she would be willing to teach both. She's just separate days, but she's going to find out on that. And there's going to be robotics offered for fifth graders. So she's getting the final commitments from the teachers and trying to get even more. And once she has everything, she's going to send it out to the teachers, and you're going to get it. I'm guessing soon, because it's going to be 10 weeks. And, I think ideally would like to have it start sometime before March. So in the next week or two, you might see something home. And when you do get it, you're going to have to turn it in, I would say immediately, because slots are limited to 10. And it's just going to be random. I'm assuming Miss I is just going to select 10. It's not like, oh, yours got turned in first, because I think all the teachers are just going to collect it and give it to her as soon as they get it. But yeah, you don't want to wait on that. So that's all I have for that. So it is a goal, though. The after school program is a goal.
Okay, thank you for that, Stanford. And can you remind everybody what the payment structure is for that, or what the PTA funds versus what gets paid out?
Right. So the parents are going to be asked to pay $100 for 10 classes, 1 hour each. So basically $10. And all proceeds from that go directly to the teacher. The PTA does not, it's not a fundraising component of the PTA, but the PTA will help cover costs for any supplies that teachers may need to run it, as well as in order to give an incentive for the teachers to teach it. PTA has offered to cover up to $200 per class for the teachers. So just in case, there's a class with only 2 kids, it might not be worth it for the teacher to do it, even though they want to, and but the PTA is willing to help offset that cost. So there's also funds available from the PTA via the Angel Fund, but we also discussed that if you are not able to cover that expense, and this part I'm not sure, Danny, maybe we can think about it, but should they contact Miss I directly and just ask? I don't, I would, I don't know what this best mechanism for that is, but I would hate to have a child who wants to attend not be able to attend because they couldn't. So
I might defer that one to principal, but my guess is, when we use the Angel Fund for Big Island trip or other things, that the request would go through the school administration.
Typically, we kind of know who the kids are who have applied for free reduced lunch. So that kind of gives us a heads up. Otherwise, people would need to mention it to us. That's kind of the way that we kind of do it. So then at that point, if people are having some issues financially, then we would encourage them also to do the application for free reduced lunch. Because then it opens up not just things for meals, because all the meals are free this year. There are a lot of other benefits to that, and it'll be a good opportunity for us to talk to them about it. So if they mention to us that they'd like to, but they can't afford it, then that might be a good conversation to have to help them out in a larger sense.
Maybe on the form there should be something where they can, a note that they can contact, right, anonymously, or however people want to do this, that they can contact Miss I and kind of discuss the situation so that it's fair, and then we can reimburse, right, or we can give the check through the PTA to the administration.
And nobody needs to know who it is. It's all confidential. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thank you, Principal Guspin. one other thing before I forget. So the way the classes work is they're usually right after school. So if your child is going to A plus, it's not really a problem. I'm not sure if the leaders take them to the class or if they just get directed to the class or the teacher picks them up. But after class, the teacher will definitely drop them back off at A plus. However, if your child is not enrolled in A plus, the teachers will walk them to the flagpole and they'll be waiting there. So it's like, pickup. You're going to have to be there at the scheduled finish time. If your child is not in A plus, you're going to have to pick them up at that time. So just keep that in mind when you're applying for the class, the after school classes. And there's a question, is there one offering per grade? Unfortunately not. It seems like there's a couple at kindergarten, one at third, one at fifth, and possibly one at fourth or first. So it's not quite to the level that it was pre-COVID. But Ms. I is definitely trying to get as many teachers to do it as possible. But understandably, some of them are just probably have other things to do, maybe even rest a little. So yeah, unfortunately not.
I think this is a good restart though of the program, and hopefully, moving into next year, we can kind of go back and look forward to maybe the 10 classes, and you can start, hopefully mixing a little. So it'll be more robust, but
Yes.
okay. All right. So Miss I will send out the forms very soon.
Yeah, it's just,
Okay.
I'm assuming she's going to send it out through the homeroom, through the
Yeah.
teachers. They're going to, that's how it was in years past, that, you just got basically a 1-page flyer, and then, or maybe 2-page with the sign up sheet.
Okay. Any more questions about the after school enrichment opportunity? Okay. Okay. Thanks, Stanford. Real quickly, some of these older items that we've been talking about for a while, our executive committee got together, and I think, the last couple of years, we haven't been able to do that much as a PTA to give back to the community. So we're really aiming to do that for the rest of the year, not really, do any more fundraising, try to do these give backs. The first one is working with Hawaii Theater for Youth, and we're going to do like a 2-week kind of giveaway. It'll be an online offering that you can watch at home with your family, and it'll just be straight up, the PTA is going to make a donation to Hawaii Theater for Youth, and we're trying to work on a little snack goodie bag for families with the information of the code to the video on there, and so forth. And we'll just do that as a giveaway, and we're targeting March 4th through the 18th. So you'll have it over a course of a couple of weeks, including a couple of weekends, and into spring break. So be on the lookout for messaging on that. We'll be sure to send out enough communication through the room parents, through the school. And then again, we'll try to use the banner to make sure that we can send out the message. We're just working out the details now with Eric and Megan Johnson. So we'll get back to you on that. And then we are going to do a screening of the screenagers. It is a teaching tool for parents and how to deal with your kids in sort of this digital age. And the package comes with screening, a video or a link to a video that you watch on your own time. And then we schedule, after that, like a week after or something, we schedule a talk story session where, parents, it's more like a forum where you can discuss, what you took away from the educational piece. And then, if we have any questions, and I think it's facilitated by somebody who's associated with the Screenagers film itself. So be on the lookout for that, but that'll be in April. And again, this is kind of from the PTA, we'll fund it, and it's a give back to the school. I think one thing that might be a little different for us from maybe private school entities that also have parent teacher, associations, is that you don't have to be a PTA member in order to benefit from some of these, events and activities. They have enough bandwidth in order for us to give it out to the school community. Again, I think for those of us who participate heavily on the volunteering end and the fundraising end, I think we're all happy to do this together and for each other. So that's a super important message that we're trying to get across, especially to newer families, to Noelani. We're not just trying to drive, again, the fundraising end of it. So be on the lookout for 2 of those activities. Any questions about those? Oh, okay. Moving on to new business. Usually in the month of May, we do have grade level performances, and it was followed by, a lunch with the school community. We used to have silent auction and hakule booth, and then we would have a whole bunch of kids games with prizes and giveaways. It was like a full day family event. It was super fun. I'm totally missing it. I don't know, principal, you can let us know, but my guess is we're not having it this year. And, in light of that, we've been trying to discuss what can the PTA do possibly to not make up for it, but, sort of figure out a way to provide some activity or event that might help bridge us to the next year. So we're going to be, Brian, I'll call you about that shortly and just follow up. But if anybody's interested in helping, I think the side of the house that really needs help are the idea sides. Just brainstorming through like, what can we do? I think a lot of people are willing to volunteer time, but on the front end of the planning and getting it together, getting these events together, we could really use some help. So if anyone wants to message anyone on the executive committee, Stanford, Ali, Chris, or myself, please, I invite you to do that. And we're definitely looking for some good ideas to end the year strong. Maybe we'll try to do some, I don't know if classes can even do, single class performances, that we could stitch it together in a video or something. Anyways, something that we can share with the school and try to get back to some version of Mayfair. Okay. Moving on, faculty and staff appreciation. So as I mentioned, I think, we just cut the checks last week, and part of it was my fault. I sort of forgot. We announced it in the open house video, and then it sort of dropped off the radar. So we were able to get those gifts out, and really that's a thank you from the PTA to all of the faculty and staff at the school for all of the work they do for our kids. So it's not just for the teachers, but it's for cafeteria, office, health aid, sped teachers, the groundskeepers, because I think at the end of the day, no one's forgotten. It takes everyone to kind of run this school, and it's much appreciated. So we did that this month. But that does remind me that Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up in April, I believe. And usually there's a really big, PTA effort to do something every day of the week and make sure teachers realize that without them, we wouldn't have any of the learning environment for our kids. So I apologize, off the top of my head, I can't quite remember who was in charge of it this year. I thought it might be Lori Lay. I saw Waylon on the phone. He was a big participant last year. So we're gonna start looking for volunteers for that event as well. It's a lot of off-campus planning and putting little gift bags together, and then we'll probably find a way to distribute on campus this year. So be on the lookout for that as well. And I believe that is all I have. Let me just quickly browse. Okay. So Kristen Brummel and Ryan Itoman did it, but I think Ryan might have done it as a membership chair. So I'm not quite sure where that's at. And I know Ryan's been really busy this year. But I'll reach out to Kristen too not sure if she's on the call today. So we'll do that. Maybe one other thing I'll throw out there. I have received some inquiries as to whether or not we're going to do Spirit Card this year. Last year it was it was meant to be a fundraiser more than anything else. I think this year, as I mentioned, trying not to push the fundraising thing as hard towards the end of the year. But I think on top of that, people really like the discounts that came with the Spirit Card. So that's the other side of it. And distribution's a little easier for us to figure out this year. So I'll kind of open it up right now to anyone on the call if you're interested. I think I know a couple of people have said that they would be willing to help. Is there anyone strongly in support or opposed to Spirit Cards? Because we can figure out the details and do it before the end of the year. I think last year's card expires in March. So we have some time to kind of get that together.
Yeah, I know there was one parent that volunteered to share it if the PTA decided to do it.
Yeah, okay. I know Miju is on this call, so she did offer, and I'm not sure if that's the same person, Stanford, as who you were
No,
thinking.
but that would be, if they had one or two, it would be really great.
Okay,
Dana ran with it last year, and she did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But if there were two people, definitely it would be a lot easier, I think.
okay. All right, so we'll kind of reach out and we'll sort of figure that out. But I think, again, a lot of people mentioned they just like the discounts. So it's okay. We can look at that.
Right. And if
Uh,
we decide to, it doesn't have to be just the businesses in Manoa area, although we try to support them. But if you have any connections to other businesses, but we can talk about that more later. But I know the Manoa Elementary did theirs, and they added like case crack seed to the card this year.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Good one. Okay, that's all I had. Does anyone have anything else they'd want to discuss or questions for anyone on the call? Nope. Okay, well, it's 6:53. That might be one of our shortest meetings yet. Thank you very much to everyone for your time tonight, and be on the lookout. There's a lot of good things happening in the next few months. So exciting end of the year. Thank you again for your time. And if you're wanting to volunteer for the PTA next year, please give us a call. We're looking for just people that you want to enjoy being around and learning more about the school and how you can help. So thank you.
or you can stay on after this call. I'll stay on and I can answer any questions too.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye.